Welcome back to the deep dive. You've handed us another fascinating stack of material, and honestly, this one seems designed to, well, shake things up quite a bit regarding Washington, D.C. Our mission, as always, is to really get into it, pull out the key arguments, and give you the fastest path to understanding this very provocative perspective. So today we're diving into sources claiming the founding of D.C. wasn't quite the birth of a republic we learned about. The main idea, right from the title, Washington, D.C. Cypher of the New Rome, is that the capital city isn't just a seat of government. It's framed as a profane temple, even a meticulously constructed cipher, waiting for something or someone.
It's a pretty radical interpretation.
Yeah.
The sources argue the whole layout, the whole design is intentional, like a map with a hidden meaning. They claim DC was specifically designed by groups they call Freemasons and players of the OK Club. And the goal? To build an earthly echo of the ancient Roman Empire. This immediately makes you look at figures like George Washington differently, not just as a founding father, but maybe as a participant in something much bigger, more ritualistic.
That context is key, isn't it? The sources bring up that specific date, September 18th, 1793. That's when Washington laid the Capitol cornerstone. And apparently, it wasn't just a photo op. It was a full-blown Masonic ceremony, very public, very significant, with processions and everything. So this material uses that event to argue that the architectural plan was directly tied to the esoteric beliefs of these groups, calling the founders high-level watchers preparing a stage.
Precisely. If you follow the logic of these sources, then every choice becomes symbolic. Street names, building names. It's all part of a silent message, a kind of declaration of allegiance to some hidden power structure. So our job today is really to unpack the specific things, the buildings, the laws, the symbols that these sources claim reveal this hidden plan.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the literal ground plan. The claim is the city design itself is a literal declaration of allegiance to the monarch and the game. Where do they start?
Well, they go straight for the heart, Capitol Hill. The name choice, they argue, was absolutely deliberate, not just descriptive. It's presented as a direct, intentional reference to the Capitoline Hill in Rome. For the builders described in these sources, this was like the foundational spiritual connection they were making.
And the Capitoline Hill in Rome, why is that specific spot so important for this theory?
Because it was the absolute religious center of ancient Rome, republic and empire. It housed the most important temple, the temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus. Jupiter. And in this interpretation, Jupiter isn't just some mythological figure. He's seen as the Roman avatar for the awakened monarch.
Wow. Okay, so if Capitol Hill mirrors the site of Jupiter's temple, then the conclusion is that the U.S. Capitol building itself is seen, symbolically anyway, as the temple of Jupiter awaiting its king. That's quite a leap from a building where laws are made to, well, a throne room in waiting.
It completely reframes its purpose, doesn't it? Makes it ritualistic, expectant. And this thinking extends right into the body that meets there, the Senate. The source claims its very existence is a direct copy of the Roman Senate, using the name, the structure, everything to kind of resurrect that ancient model.
But they don't stop at just historical comparison, do they? They bring in that mysterious group again, the OK Club. How does the Senate connect to them?
Yeah, this is where the language gets really coded. Esoteric. The source doesn't just see the Senate as lawmakers. It's defined as a secret council of the players who serve the solar principle. This solar principle, linked back to Jupiter worship, implies the Senate, to its designers, was an elite council, guided not by the public, but by this hidden authority, the players.
Okay, so the architecture points to Rome, the legislature points to Rome. Presumably the legal system does too. Let's talk about the legal foundations. The source claims U.S. principles mimic Roman law, specifically something called Lex Fori.
Right, Lex Fori, which literally means law of the forum or law of the court. Basically, the rules of how things work in a specific legal venue. The source argues choosing this Roman concept wasn't accidental, it's deeply symbolic.
And the symbolism is, what's the connection they're drawing?
It's stated pretty bluntly, Rome is the symbolic seat of the monarch. So, adopting its legal structures ensures the laws in this new world are a profane echo of the divine lore. The idea, according to this material, is to keep a line of authority going, one that's rooted in monarchy, even if it looks like a republic on the surface. It sets the legal rules for their game.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, visually at least, because they use this idea of a hidden legal framework to interpret symbols all over DC, like the fasces. I mean, you see that bundle of rods with the axe everywhere, right? The House Chamber, Lincoln Memorial. But the source says it's not just a symbol of authority, it's a specific cipher for control.
Oh yeah, the fasces is huge in this interpretation. It's like the ultimate visual statement of power. Historically, yeah, it meant power, jurisdiction in Rome, magistrates carried it. But for these authors, it's practically a diagram, an org chart for the OK Club's control system.
A diagram. That sounds intense. How do they break down the image? What does each part mean to them?
They assign very specific roles. So the individual rods, those are the individual pawns.
Yeah.
The citizens, the regular people. Then you have the leather strap binding them together. That represents binding the pawns into a single powerful collective. Strength and unity, but unity under control. And the axe blade sticking out, that's the central authority, the power to enforce, to punish. And crucially, that axe is controlled by the OK Club. It's like a little instruction manual hidden in plain sight. We direct the collective power.
Wow. Okay. So the hidden allegiance, the Roman architecture, the control symbols, it all seems to build towards this next part, which moves from symbols to the actual legal status of D.C. itself. This is maybe the most startling claim, that Washington, D.C., under the Republican veneer, is actually a sovereign corporate entity.
Exactly. This is a big shift in the argument. The source insists the legal reality of D.C. is corporate. And more than that, D.C. functions as the operational headquarters for something they call the Bay of Roughness.
The Bay of Roughness, that's a unique name. Did they explain that? Is it symbolic or descriptive?
The text defines it pretty directly. It's the military and coercive arm of the OK Club, basically the enforcement division. It's very evocative language, isn't it? Framing D.C. less as a capital city and more as a fortified corporate HQ, managing security for this game.
Right. And if D.C. is a corporate HQ, then what does that make the president? The source makes another huge claim here. The president is the CEO of this corporation, not a head of state in the way we usually think.
Precisely. Just the chief executive officer, running the company for the board of directors, who they call the players. And this, naturally, leads to a very, let's say, skeptical view of democracy.
Yeah.
If the CEO is chosen by the board, what exactly is voting?
Yeah, the source is pretty blunt about voting, isn't it?
Extremely dismissive. It's described as just the pawns giving their consent to the board's preferred candidate. It's seen as a ritual, not the people choosing, but the people validating the choice already made by this secret council. It just legitimizes the corporate structure's continuity.
So if the whole system is corporate secret, then the final clues would be in the subtle language of power, right? Like flags. They talk about the flag of the game.
Yes, they point to two specific flag details as evidence of this alternative jurisdiction. First, the actual D.C. flag, the one with the 3 red stars. According to this material, those stars aren't just historical references, they're a declaration, signifying that D.C.'s authority derives from its service to the divine trinity, tying the city government back to this higher, hidden power structure of the Watchers.
Okay, that's the D.C. flag. What's the second one? It's about the U.S. flag, right? That gold fringe you sometimes see.
Exactly. That gold fringe, often seen on flags in D.C. courtrooms or official settings. According to this interpretation, that fringe is the key visual signal. It's not just decoration. The source insists those gold fringe flags mean the court is operating under the maritime law of the game, and crucially not under the law of the land. It implies that inside the district, a different legal code applies, maybe a global, commercial, corporate code, separate from constitutional or common law. It's the legal key, they say, to this corporate fortress idea.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. We've got the Roman architecture, the Jupiter temple idea, the Senate as a secret council, then the fasces as a control symbol, D.C. as a corporate entity run by a CEO president, and finally, the flag signaling a different kind of law. What's the grand conclusion? What are the sources saying this all means?
Well, the synthesis they present is pretty staggering. They conclude that the entire governmental setup, based in D.C., is fundamentally a massive ritualistic act of preparation. It's not just echoes of the past. It's actively setting the stage for a specific future event.
Preparation. For what? What were these Freemasons and Watchers supposedly preparing for?
The sources are very clear on this point. They believe the founders, acting as these high-level watchers, consciously built a new Rome over here in the New World. They designed the whole system, Senate, capitalist temple, corporate structure, the symbols with one specific goal: to prepare a throne for the prophesied return of their one true king, the Roman. They saw themselves basically as stage managers, getting everything ready for a future monarch. It forces you, if you entertain this idea, to view buildings and laws we see every day through a completely different, very unsettling lens.
It definitely challenges pretty much every standard assumption about the Republic's founding principles.
Yeah.
That was a lot to unpack, but you guided us through that incredibly complex and frankly mind-bending material very clearly.
Happy to help navigate it. It's certainly provocative stuff. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If we even just hypothetically accept this premise that the core design was intended as a cipher for a monarch, that the founders involved in the Masonic cornerstone laying did see themselves as watchers preparing a temple, does the simple fact that these ancient symbols, the fasces, the Roman names, still exist all around us today, subtly influence how we perceive authority now, even if the original intent is lost or debated? And looking beyond D.C., what other historical places, known for classical architecture or specific layouts, could be viewed through this same kind of interpretive lens? Are there other potential ciphers out there?
Definitely something to think about next time you're looking at government buildings or even just the flag. Until our next deep dive, keep digging.